And it's just like super important to kind of have that trial and error for yourself, though.
Yeah, fuck
Somehow
up,
you can, like,
test
help
out.
people, but I think if you take too many shortcuts, you're not really gonna like have that discovery along the way of like how to do your own thing.
The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, my guests and I provide the skills for thinking bigger, overcoming adversity, and making an impact with your work. What's going on? You're listening to episode 126 of the Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective, and I'm here to help you build a killer side hustle and elevate your brand outside your day job. And at the end of each episode, I plug a listener of the week. So stick around to figure out how you can get a shout out on a future episode, in the show notes, as well as in the newsletter. And let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself having to pick your jaw up off the floor after scrolling midway through social media and you stumble across someone's work that's just absolutely incredible and unique? For me, I believe that those are the people that we need to be watching closely. They're the ones who are raising the bar and pushing everyone else in the industry to step up their game. And a couple years ago, I originally had to pick up my jaw off the floor when I saw today's guest work for the first time. And ever since, I've had to carefully hold my jaw in place every time they drop something new, because it just blows my mind with how unique and original and the creativity that goes into it. And I'm stoked to have him on today. And I'm talking about the homie Ben Johnston, who's a Goliath when it comes to painting murals and canvases, or when he's designing branding or some type of installation. And his mind-bending experiments speak volumes as big brands like Nike, Google, Ford, the Toronto Raptors, Aston Martin, just to name a few, come knocking on his door for his one-of-a-kind services. And today, Ben and I, well, mostly Ben, go deep onto topics like Murals 101. We're talking about tips, processes, materials, and even pricing. We're also going into being confident versus being a dick, having fun while creating good work that makes an impact, attracting work by posting on all types of social platforms like Behance, Dribble, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And most importantly, we talk about pizza, UFOs, graffiti, and more. In today's episode, the whole goal is to help you get started in murals, or to light that fire under your ass to start taking your work to the next level. And you can find the show notes to this episode over at perspective-collective.com/126, or down here in the YouTube description. Also, do me a favor. If you find value in today's episode, let me know what you think. Share this shit on Instagram stories. Take a screenshot of you listening, or take a video to you working with the podcast going in the background. Make sure you tag me and Ben. Share it on your Instagram stories. That way I can connect and reshare the love back to you. That would be dope. It's because you sharing the show is the reason this show keeps growing. And as always, keep an open mind and act on anything that inspires you today. Let's go. PC family, we have the ultimate wizard of trippy type murals. We got Ben Johnston in the house today. Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, dude. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man. Great to be here.
Yeah. And like we were just saying, you're in Toronto, but before you lived in Cape Town. So if people don't know, can you give us a brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself?
Yeah, so the quick version is I was born in Canada, but my parents kind of eventually got sick of the cold. So we moved out to South Africa when I was 2 or 3. And I came out here when I was 25, 26. So about 5 years ago now.
Yeah, that's a big climate and culture shock.
Yeah, definitely different. I was kind of, at the time, I was kind of leaving the agency world of working. And then I kind of wanted to get more into freelance and just needed a change. So I just kind of got a one-way ticket, sold everything I owned.
Damn, it's like that. Okay, I always ask everybody from Canada, have you ever seen a UFO? I hear Canada's like the hot spot.
I mean, you see some crazy shit around here, but I don't know about UFOs.
Yeah, okay, that's good enough. I'll take it.
I think if you go further north, though, you might see something, who knows?
I nerd out over that shit, man. I love that stuff.
Come visit, man.
I will someday. Let's dive deep into your backstory, because a lot of people know, how you got into doing what you do today. And Charlie Jeffrey from the Facebook group, the Perspective Collective, if you want to ask people questions, immediately he's like, how did you get into mural work, and how can you suggest any good ways of starting out? Because in my world, you are like the mural expert, especially with the crazy experimental side of things. How did you get into murals?
Well, thank you. So it was kind of just trial and error process. So I was working at a PR company when I dropped out of college. And then from there, I was kind of teaching myself the programs and basically just graphic design in general. From there, I went and worked for the Ogilvy Group at an agency for a while. And then slowly started doing freelance typography work, magazine covers, that kind of thing. And then I only painted the first mural when I actually moved to Canada. And it was in a co-working spot I was at the time.
Were you like 25, you said you moved back to Canada?
25, 26. Yeah, so it's
How
kind
old
of
are you now?
32.
32, okay, you're just a couple years older.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of a little late to the game, but saying that, like I've kind of learned a lot along the way. So I feel like that has helped the progression quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of like worked through styles and branding and packaging and doing all these things beforehand. So I think that's kind of helped me in the long run now as well.
What gave you the itch to start a mural? Just someone just hits you up and be like, hey, do you want to do a mural? And you're like, shit,
Pretty much, yeah. So I was doing like a lot of typographic work. Looking back at it now, it's pretty shit, but I mean, it was like where everyone starts. So
yeah, humble beginnings.
And then at the time, I didn't know anything about it. So it was just kind of markers and ink and whatever. So just kind of trying to make it work on that front. And then, there was another buddy in the space who was starting a film company, video production. So we filmed it, painted it. And then from there, it's kind of just like snowballed from there.
That one led to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a bit slow in the beginning. So I was doing more sort of typographic stuff for advertising still. But then it's kind of led more and more into mural stuff now, which is about like 85% of the stuff I do, I guess.
Okay, next person. Patrick McCormick asks, I'd love to know where Ben gets his inspiration for such original mural ideas. Like your shit it moves, it twists, and you got this overprint style. Like, where does it come from? Do you reference old books? A lot of people don't reference online, which is good. But like, where do you get that inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of other places to look other than online, Like, I feel like you can kind of get stuck just looking online for hours and hours and hours. So I try not to go to too many of those inspiration sites or anything anymore. And at the studio, we've got a pretty decent collection of like Bauhaus books, sign painting books, that kind of thing. And like a lot of the stuff you see now, like the type stuff, it's really just a reinvention of older stuff as well. Like trying to put your own spin on some shadow work or, just basically twisting letters and whatnot. So I feel like, everything comes from stuff that's maybe previously been done. And it's just about like putting it in your own way and trying new things all the time.
Recycling for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, everything now is inspired by something else. So it's just about like, carrying on, like keeping at it. And, the end mural is just like before that, there's maybe 100 or more iterations of that thing, like twisting and changing it till it actually works.
So how does like the process start off? I know I've bugged you a couple times through DMs on Instagram and you always answer. Where does the idea come from? Are you using like warp features or 3D Revolve within like Illustrator, or are you using like Cinema 4D to really bend your stuff? Like how?
Man, I want to learn that program because I feel like it would help. But
yeah, I'm just like, how do you bend these things? Like one of the most recent ones was like the type looks like it's peeling off the wall.
Yeah, so that was so just kind of carrying on playing with all these things. I've got like a mood board of pictures I'm always taking. So it's basically when you see kind of vinyl like stickers on a glass door, and then the way that's kind of reflecting on the wall behind. So like you can kind of gather like shadows as you're walking. So it's kind of, I take pictures of like peeling letters on walls, and then
So you stay just like capturing everything around you. Like
I mean,
all those ideas.
Like I just got this phone and I think it's on like 10,000 pictures in like a month. So and then I've got like mood boards full of just all these like shadow references of like how it hits two walls and then goes up and all of that. So it's just like, I take some of those and then I just start seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Do you have that book Shadow Type then?
I do somewhere. I do own it. I just don't know where it is.
I see that book and I'm just like, holy shit, man. It really makes me need to push my things to the next, because I'm all about perspective, depth, and shadows. That's why I've been so blown away by your work. You take like what I'm doing and inject it with steroids and then put it on the side of a fucking building.
Well, I mean, I think it's just about trying new things all the time. And I definitely don't know the programs as well as I should, but there are some features where you can kind of test things a little quicker. And then I draw everything on a Wacom.
Okay.
So like a couple like doodle sketches, rough stuff.
So it starts with just sketches by hand for the most part.
But I mean, you know, because you're sketching on a Wacom as well, it's kind of all the same. And then I can move things around a little quicker.
Do you sketch within an Adobe program then, like Illustrator,
Yeah,
or are you more
all
Photoshop for
Illustrator.
sketching?
It's all Illustrator because a lot of the time it's good to have the vector file if you want to then
Purpose
turn
it.
that particular project into a campaign. So instead of just like if somebody comes to you for a mural, like figure out how you can expand that. So recently we turned an AT&T mural into 3 murals, tote bags, something at the airport. Like we turned it into a massive project out of just like something that should have been tiny. So being able to like kind of take projects a little further and kind of having the artwork there ready to be printed on different things really helps.
Damn, really keeping that flexibility. And I guess I want to talk about like buyouts and all that stuff too. But how did like attracting work and everything go? When did you start doing like murals full time? And then, you know, how did you price things? How did you handle clients and pitching, presenting, all of that? And then now that you're represented by We Are Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. And then how does that all work now when you have representation? So before and now, you know, present.
So I've been represented as well before with debut art, but that was more like European stuff and a couple like US projects here and there. But I've always managed my work in Canada, and recently Sunday afternoon also helping with that, just because it really helps the workflow. Because if I had to deal with all of this shit in the morning for hours and hours, like by the time I actually get to start designing, I'm pretty knackered already.
Yeah.
It really helps with that. And if you can find the right agent that also has your best interests in mind, that helps, because everybody just wants to make money as well at the end of the day. But like if you actually go with somebody who does care about the work you do and will give you advice on things and clients to pitch for, you know, that's kind of where you want to be at. And because you got to put all that trust in them as well to land that project.
For sure. So like when an inquiry comes in, is it usually through Instagram and they see your representation, or?
Yeah, so I still update my Behance and my website. Like as soon as I do a project, I like upload every platform.
Damn.
So
listen to that, everyone. You need to do that. Little patterns.
You never know where the work's gonna come from, because some countries use Behance, some don't, some use Dribble. So like I think if you can just consistently update your shit, and it doesn't take long, just do it while you're watching TV or whatever, you know? Like if I just shoot everything really well, and then once those pictures are there, they can be sent, you know, you can upload, they can be sent to a book, they can be sent to competition entries. Like you just have all that stuff by just spending a couple hours, you know, when it's done.
So you're a big believer in being on all platforms, but then you still have like your main one that you go out on. Instagram's probably your biggest player.
Yeah, it's good right now, but I mean, like Behance, you don't know if that's gonna die.
For sure. Yeah, spread it out.
So you know, I'm trying to just keep on top of all of those things, and also make it like easy for clients to view the stuff. So like whatever is there, then you kind of tell them to go to this platform, that platform, and also be able to have like a PDF of your work to send straight away to clients.
For sure, kind of like a pitch deck in a sense.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like some people just assume that I can only paint the things and that they're not even like digital, or like I can't do anything else. But then you can kind of direct them to different projects and different styles. Because maybe like the shadow stuff is dope, but like it's not compatible for all clients, you know, like so I still want to keep like that repertoire of other stuff as well.
And you do a good job on your website categorizing it all. It's like you're the shit at murals, but you also have like ornate things, canvases, branding, all kinds of stuff. So I think that's when I first started noticing your work a couple years ago. You weren't even like balls deep in all this dope mural stuff right now.
Yeah. So it's been a pretty quick progression, but I think with all the side projects and the late nights of the studio, that stuff pays off. Like you can't beat that, you know, that 10,000 hour thing. Just take that to 20, 30,000 hours. Like I'm still learning every day. Like I don't know, like sometimes what I'm like gonna do, what I'm gonna draw, but it's that, you know, just consistently keep going, and it's like muscle memory, you know?
For sure. How many hours do you think you got in on murals right now?
Oh shit, I don't even know, man.
What's like how long does like a side of a building? I'm trying to think of like well,
those ones, I mean, I don't think we've ever painted for more than like 4 days at a time.
Yeah.
So that's been the longest, but instead of doing shorter days, I'll do like 10 or 12 or more, you know, like I'd rather be out there for longer days than for more days.
For sure. So you do like a 10-hour shift or what?
Yeah, I mean, a couple serial killer podcasts, and
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But like the thing is, you want to get into that state of like meditation almost. When you're like listening to something but you don't hear it.
Yeah.
That's when like that real like magic work happens.
Getting lost in the sauce. That's where I can like go off and stipple for hours or do a shit ton of line work or even go and start writing stream of consciousness.
So you just got to like really try and focus. And the only way you can do that is by like putting Instagram down and like just focusing on the thing you're doing.
Disconnect from the distractions for sure.
Yeah, because the first like drawing you're going to do of like any project is not going to be like the end result. So you got to kind of just really like try to focus in and make the most out of your hours. Like I'm not trying to work like the longest days. Like I'm trying to work like, smart.
What's a typical day look like for you then? Like in terms of, project load, do you have to like plan the week out in advance to know what you're doing? Do you plan your night out and for the next day, or like how do you juggle like your mural work?
Like I know what's happening as well. So if I know I have a week of painting coming up, then I'll try and like crush out all the other stuff, that's studio stuff, before that week. Yeah, because once you start painting, like you're gonna get home at night and you're not gonna do anything. You're gonna go to bed. So It's just about like trying to plan which projects are coming in. And I do a bunch of projects without agent and also with them. So it's about figuring out like that timeline and letting them know as well. It's like letting your parents know when you're gonna be sleeping out,
Well, how do you disconnect then? Because if you're like me and your work is play, like I do this all outside of a day job. Like this is all play to me, and it's really hard for me to disconnect and make sure I'm like connected with my wife and my son and my family and my friends. Like you make sure you have time to disconnect and just.
I try for sure, but I think there's just such enjoyment in the work that I don't really see it as like having to go to the office. I get here early and I stay late like every day. So
what time's your day start?
I get about 7 to like either go to the gym or like ride my bike or something, and then I'll get to work about 8:30. So I'll try to get all the emails and like anything that's kind of pressing just quickly out of the way, and then I can start kind of drawing before anyone even gets in to the studio.
So you're big on at least fitness. You still get your mind right and your body right. A lot of creatives don't do that, so I commend you for that shit.
Well, I think it's just like it helps with a clear mind more than anything else. Like if you're gonna get up and go do something, you're just gonna feel better after that as well, and you can kind of like think a little clearer, and I don't have to worry about that like after work or something. I can stay here and paint or chill or whatever.
Release those endorphins and then just get hyped up to go crush some shit for sure.
Yeah, and I think you just gotta try and like just make a little list of things and just take it off quick in the morning, just like the emails you don't want to do and this and that and some quoting. And once that's done, you can kind of just like then at ease, like focus on something else, even if it's just like not even the project you're supposed to be doing. Just, do something fun.
So after you get done, like, man, I'm like bouncing all over the place right now. This is like ping pong. So after you get done doing like a 4-day massive side of a building or however long it takes, do you just need to like go veg out for a little bit and like?
No, I mean, that would be good, but generally no. Like sometimes, like I have a buddy that also helps me every now and then with different pieces. Like not long ago, we finished one at like after 3 or 4 days at 2 p.m. and then we took a cab from there to the next piece to start it. So like sometimes it's back to back, but other times, there's always something to do. So it's like it's impossible to just like disconnect unless I'm on holiday.
Okay. I know for me, man, I hit 30 years old and I do a mural at a fraction of the size of what the hell you do. My body is beat to shit after that. All those weird ass angles.
No, it's tiring for sure. But I mean, I think the result is also satisfying, seeing that thing that was on a little computer or whatever to something, whatever, like 10 feet or 50 feet, like whatever it is, like it's always really dope to kind of see that end result.
Oh man, I could only imagine. So like when you're in the middle of doing something, do you have to like set back? Like, does it just look like shit up front like that? And you don't know what the hell it's doing?
Yeah.
Like a little, like
up close, depending on the size, like your line work might not be as tight as it could be, but no one's ever going to be able to see it up close. If it's like up on a building or on a second story or something like that. So you
Do
know,
you
you
make a
can
point to like step back each time just to see the bigger picture before
yeah,
you?
well, generally when you're on a lift, you can kind of swing back and forth. So that really helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you kind of have to let go about being too precious on certain things, especially with painting. Like if you want it to be perfect, then the client can print it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there is going to be some like imperfections and that's the point.
Um,
So yeah, like the further you are back, like not the messier it can be, but you don't have to be as precious with certain things. But
so
you know, with each piece, you kind of learn like different materials and different ways of doing shit. And definitely learned like a lot of techniques and just not shortcuts, but like things to do from like tradesmen and like people like that, you know? So it's like just bugging the right people. Yeah.
and I'm sure you get blown up a lot, right?
Well, like, I mean, I try as best as possible, but I also think like it's super important for that trial and error process. I painted like this big piece like years ago, and I was like hitting up this sign painter of like different techniques and this and that. And like he helped a little bit, but like his advice was just to like figure it out by yourself, because then you can figure out what doesn't work and what does work. And it's just like super important to kind of have that trial and error for yourself, though.
Yeah. Fuck
Like,
up.
I can, like
Test
help
out.
people, but I think if you take too many shortcuts, you're not really gonna like have that discovery along the way of like how to do your own thing.
Well, next time you get blown up with questions, we answered a shit ton of them in this episode. Just direct them here. Make it easy on yourself.
Exactly. And yeah, so I mean, I'm always down to help, but like it's definitely important to figure it out.
Word.
I still sit here and I'm like, I don't know how to do this thing or that thing. But like with the internet, man, you can literally find anything or a version of that thing or a tutorial. So like it's not impossible. It's just people being lazy.
True. I think this leads right into this one. Marcus Long is, what's Ben's approach and execution of doing large scale murals, from setup to getting the paint on the walls that are so high? So you can't do a projector on a big ass outdoor. Do you use like a grid method?
Yeah, so there are some different processes. So from the beginning, each piece would be designed for that wall, and potentially, especially with the 3D stuff, it's best viewable from one angle. So you kind of want to figure out like that Heart of Gold one. So it was done along the main street, but the main street was on this side of the wall. So we kind of I wanted the mural to face that way. So it's about figuring out the surroundings of that.
So you gotta go get a photo of it first to like have your canvas set up for you.
Yeah, exactly. And also to do like a mock-up, like rendering for client or for whoever you're pitching is always a good idea. Yeah, it's also tricky because you don't want to show them anything too final, because there is that kind of human error as you go.
Yeah, 10% different altercation, or
some things just don't work when you're doing them, colors or whatever. And then from there, just figuring out the mock-up, like that negative space to painted ratio. And then from there, like priming, painting the wall, getting your sketch up. So there's multiple different ways of doing that. You know, there's grid systems, there's pounce patterns. There's also the like squiggle pattern thing.
I haven't heard of that one. I've heard the other ones.
So you'll see it with a lot of people that do like large scale portraiture. It's pretty hard to show you without like drawing it. But basically it's a bunch of like X's and zeros on the wall. And then you superimpose your image over that. So like if it's the center of that X where the ear is, and you mark it there through the O, through the thing, it works well. Like it's great.
What's your best technique for like a large scale? Is it grid? At least that's what I know people utilize the most.
Like, I'm down to use anything that will just speed things up. So if we can use a projector, use that. If it needs to be a grid, we use that. Like just, you know, as doing everything yourself, you need to think about the hours you're putting into something as well. So just being efficient.
For sure. Well, and a lot of people struggle with pricing. And I know Mandy Hernandez Babineau, you know, how does pricing work? You know, I know a lot of people who do recommended by square foot. Is that where your range is?
So, I mean, I've heard a bunch of people do that as well. Yeah, so depending on, like, you also need to consider like the value that you bring to the project as well. Like different people can charge different things. Like Pentagram Design charges different to like a studio that's been
value-based pricing.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to affect that always. But so square footage is an easy way to work things out, but it doesn't always work out, because if it's massive, like sometimes the person doesn't have like 50 grand or whatever, but if it's tiny, you're not getting your worth either. So you got to kind of figure out like, what's your base fee? Like how long is it going to take you to design, go to the meetings, buy all the paint, paint the mural? And if it's 2 weeks, like, what do you think your day rate is?
On top of like travel costs.
Yeah, and if you need to travel and whatever. So like, what do you think your daily value is? Or what would you get paid to do work? And then figure that out and then maybe add some.
All right, as comfortable as you are answering any of this, are you comfortable with sharing what your day rate is, or are you comfortable with sharing what your most expensive mural was to date?
Well, sometimes, like I said, well, the day rate actually changes because the thing is like your value is only what somebody will pay you as well. So some days like I'm here and I'm just working on like random stuff. I'm not getting paid anything. Mm-hmm. And then some days like when you're actually painting the mural, you could say, well, you make like 10 grand that day. But like actually you put in a lot of other work to it. So unless you're keeping like a spreadsheet of your exact times, it would be difficult to figure it out exactly. What was the other thing?
What's like the most expensive mural that you've done to date? If you're comfortable with sharing, you can flex right now, or you could be humble.
I think as soon as you take anything into like more of a campaign thing, because then you're talking about like usage and things like that. Like often
like buyouts too. Like do they do buyouts with murals and then buy out the rights to the art and then repurpose it?
Yeah, so they can do that. You know, so for instance, like that AT&T thing.
Yeah.
There's like a few different graphics, but then those were used to print on different things. So then we got usage of those different things. And if they wanted to then use it for something else, they would either buy it out, which would be more than the whole project. Yeah, so like definitely that's where agents and that experience will come in, because you can make more on usage than you can with doing the project.
For sure.
And like a lot of people, yeah, like they'll just play dumb, agencies and whoever, like, you know, like, and then they'll just print your artwork or like do whatever with it. So it's about keeping on top of that and just asking the right questions in the initial email. So I got an email today and was being super vague. And then I just went back at them with like 15 questions. You know, what do you want to use it for? What's it, like, where's it going to live? For how long? It's important that like you kind of keep on top of all these people. Otherwise they're going to just shaft everyone.
Yeah, it's a world full of bottom feeders too, trying to get the lowest price for something.
Dude, I mean, that's the way it is, you know, like their boss is telling them to get the lowest price, but you just need to make sure that you're not screwing yourself over or like everyone else, because we've all been screwed over. You know, I don't want to like say who and which places, but I mean, it's happened a lot. And, you know, it does help in the way that you like start standing up for yourself in a proper way from then on, but it will happen every now and then.
What's the biggest learning experience or failure that you've had within a project?
Well, I mean, a lot of projects haven't gone well. Well, maybe not a lot, but like a few haven't gone well over the years. I think now I'm just a lot better navigating things as well. So I manage expectations from the beginning, whether it's, I try and figure out, in order to quote as well, like I try and figure out the style they want. So do you want like a very illustrative piece with like exploding type and all of this? Or do you want something very minimal and like a 3D type piece? Because there will be two different prices for that stuff. So I try to like figure out all of that stuff in the beginning. When I went to a meeting this morning and I figured out which walls they wanted to do, square foot of those walls, and the style they wanted to do. So at least when they get those sketches, they're not thinking they're getting something else. They're getting like a new updated version of something they like. But yeah, so I think, you know, you want to give them like a pleasant surprise. You don't want to give them something they're not expecting.
For sure.
Yeah, it can be tough in that way. Like, so it's just managing expectations and kind of keeping everyone in check, like through the project.
Have you ever fucked up a wall and like spilled paint anyway?
Dude, that
should have been, you had to do clean up
everything I own. Like, I don't have anything nice anymore. But yeah, we spilled a bunch of paint. I stood in a paint bucket the other day with my new shoes. Like, when we went to paint in Hawaii, like for seawalls, in the beginning of January, and it rained 90% of the whole time we were there. So it was just raining inside all the buckets and like going on the wall.
How'd you get anything done in rain?
Well, we had to like try and paint and like wipe and paint. But then every now and then, it would like rain out of nowhere and just wash the paint off the wall as well. So it was a pretty trying time.
what works best for paint then? Are you actually using like outdoor acrylic paint, or are you using like Montana like
Well,
spray cans?
spray paint is great because it's very quick. It dries
Dries quick.
instantly. So if it's raining, that's your best option.
Okay.
Uh, but for longevity, I've kind of come to realize that latex, like outdoor latex paint, is your best option, especially if you want those big fills, that perfect color. I painted a piece in with a buddy, Trevor Wheatley, and we kind of did these sections of like, it was like a midnight blue, black, and then like we'd finish the whole piece, but then we realized like at sundown, like the way it hits the wall, like the colors just look so shit. So we had to like go buy paint and like re-roll those sections, because sometimes spray paint like just doesn't have the same effect and longevity. I mean, you're gonna get 10 years with latex paint without any fading. But you know, you go to Wynwood and like you see murals that have been in the sun for like a year or two and they're faded.
And that's usually like spray paint?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it just doesn't have like the same UV quality.
Speaking about like, damaging or like water, all that stuff. So do you have to get like insurance or liability to like cover in case something fucks up? And then how does like contracts work for you?
So insurance will often be covered like when you do a project for somebody. So because you're on their premises, like often they would cover your
like you did something for the Raptors, I believe.
Yeah, it was just a small like bit of an installation though.
Okay.
Like something more for them in the future.
Okay. I didn't know if you had to like, yeah, I know some people, they've had to like go and get insurance just to cover in case they screw something up at someone's business or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that normally provided by the customers for yourself?
No one's kind of, no one said anything about that yet. I mean, at the end of the day, it's painting. So I don't know what I could really do that would ruin the space. With shit.
What about contracts? Well,
contracts,
your representation or your rep pretty much handles all that now, right?
Yeah, so they'll handle that. So at least from the beginning, then say a project doesn't go well or things are just not going well. So you can either like cut things off or they can cut things off, but you can still get paid for your time.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really tough though. You know, there are always going to be those projects out there that dealing with a middleman and they're not getting the right information from somebody as well. And, you know, those just don't happen as well. And that, you know, you'll get a couple of those a year, maybe.
Word. Then what's your favorite paint brand? So like a lot of your indoor pieces, do you do a lot of indoor murals then?
Yeah, so a bunch of agency, like offices, that kind of thing. I realized like I don't post everything on Instagram as well, though. Sometimes things don't photograph that well.
Yeah.
So like in offices and whatnot, you can't always capture the piece in the right way. So sometimes like it's better to maybe not share those things, but to have them in maybe that PDF you can share with people.
For indoor, is it just like indoor latex acrylic house paint?
Yeah, and depending if you can open windows or there's certain things, you could use a bit of spray paint as well, but I find it's just easy and like paint is so cheap. You know what I mean? You can go to like any paint store and they have like these mist tint sections where like people would like order some paint or get some paint mix and they don't like it. And those, like you can get like big buckets of paint for 10, 20 bucks.
Oh shit. You
can paint a couple of murals with like, you know, a few different buckets.
For sure. What's your favorite paint brands?
So Benjamin Moore is like a really good painter. It's just a high quality paint. It covers super well. Yeah, and then I'd say Montana Black, Montana Gold. Those are really good.
For spray paint?
Yeah, for spray. But there are like, you know, there's lots of like newer brands as well. Iron Lac, you know, they're kind of like updating their formula all the time. So they're kind of like, yeah, they're kind of, I think they're doing one with like UV as well in it now. Because you got to think about that aging aspect of spray paint as well.
How did you even get, like, what got you into spray paint? Like, that's intimidating to me.
Yeah, so I did some graffiti when I was younger. I was like 14.
So you were already into tagging and everything. You got that.
Getting caught by the cops, you know, the usual.
You been arrested?
Yeah.
How many times?
Just the once, I think.
Just one, you think? What were you tagging?
Man, bunch of names. Like, you know that bullshit when you're young and you think you're cool?
I'm 30 and I'm still think I'm cool. So maybe it's just still bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, so I think that was the introduction, or at least that was the introduction to lettering without even knowing it though.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so you got your start, like how old were you when you started graffiti then?
Probably like 13 to 15, 16.
Then when did you get
That's kind
heavy
of
into lettering then and like type?
yeah, so I mean, there was kind of like a hiatus in between there, but I was always doing like fine art painting. I studied industrial design, so like product design, like designing like kettles and furniture, whatever. But I dropped out of that because I just didn't go to class. So then they kind of said like, do you want to drop out? And then from there, I kind of like pursued the graphic design thing more because it's just kind of like with all the work I was doing, I was spending more time with the presentation document of it and the mood boards and all of that stuff.
So you just self-taught with graphic design. Did you just learn online for like
Yeah,
skills?
pretty much like still doing that. And then kind of the agency experience really helped as well. But I think even if you go to college, I feel like if you really want to be good, you kind of have to teach yourself as well.
It's all about the work, not a piece of paper with numbers and where you went from.
Yeah, so I mean, I've never been asked for like if I went to college or anything. Like no one's ever asked.
You just send them that PDF and they're like, okay, here's my money.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, I think it was a bigger thing back in the day, but I think you can teach yourself so much stuff.
Agreed.
Like with Skillshare and YouTube and shit, like if you want to figure out how to do some 3D thing or some like crazy line work thing, there's somebody's like done a variation of that. You can kind of take that and then take it further into something else.
Something like that ever interest you? Like doing a course of how you bend type or manipulate type or, you know, your process for a mural? Because I feel like, dude, you can make bank some passive income. Like Lauren Hom, you know, she does all this shit too. I even saw you two team up on a collab. That's dope. But yeah, she's big on
we were talking at FITC, the conference here, and hanging out. And then she ended up coming back like a week or two later so we could paint. But yeah, that was like, fuck, man. Everything like fell apart with that, but like the wall came out cool. But I think to speed things up, we were gonna like project and this and that, and then we couldn't. So we had to like grid out the whole wall and do things. It was so hot. It was this hot trash next to us. So it was like crazy, but it was super fun. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah, she'll be at Crop Conference here. Well, shit, your episode. So I'm at Crop by the time this comes out. So yeah, I'll finally get to kick it with her. But
is that what festival is that?
It's not a festival. It's a conference, Crop Conference in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So yeah, it'll have like James Victoria, John Cantino, who I'm recording with after this, and
dang, man, that guy's work is beautiful.
On the next level. Yeah, I get the bangers. I get record with you and then record with him. They fucking made, man.
Yeah, he did the branding for a bar, a restaurant down here. Like, I mean, must have done like 10 years ago, but it's still so sick.
Killing it.
Yeah. Still like, I mean, he just does like timeless stuff though, you know? So it's like, it looks like it was just done, but it was done, you know what I mean?
And it has that just rough brand by hand feel, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's just got a very good eye as well, though. But are you going to Becca's conference? Because I was hoping to go to that one.
Man, she offered me a good ass deal on that too, just from some side conversations. I'll get her on the podcast here soon too. But no, that lineup is stacked.
No, I was supposed to go as well, but I agreed to paint something at Mural Fest in Montreal, and because it's one of the brand walls, one of the brand sponsors, it has to be done like over those dates.
Yeah,
like the exact dates that like the conference.
That sucks.
Like, all right, well, hopefully I'll catch you at another one, or but that lineup is crazy.
It's fucking bananas. See, and I've been like selfish in the past of just traveling. I see a dope conference or festival or something, just drop what I'm doing. Hey, sorry, wife, I'm doing this. This is great. Too big of an opportunity, but we got a little one in the picture. By the time this comes out, he's 8 months old. So the travel's at a minimum this year. I'm only hitting up one conference and then just being around.
It's a game changer, man.
You got a kid?
No, not yet, man.
Are you just flying solo right now, living life?
I mean, I've got my girlfriend. Okay. So, you know, but like she also travels a lot for work. So, you know, we're focusing on like the kind of work and the travel stuff right now, and just take it as it comes, you know.
Word.
So I've got a couple conferences this year. So I'm going to Off Festival, which is in Barcelona at the end of April.
Are you painting at it?
Yeah, I'm going to paint as well, and hopefully do another wall somewhere as well. Because I met this guy Dulk. You should check his work out on Instagram.
What is it?
DULK. He does like just insanely big murals of like animals and like melting different like things.
All right.
So he's down in Spain as well. So I think we're gonna go meet up with him and hopefully paint something. And then, yeah, so a couple mural fests like Bright Walls and Mural Fest in Montreal. And then
Wild.
I'll be going to PDP. It's like a tiny conference in Serbia.
Damn.
That'll be so dope, man, just to check that out. I think it's a very small, like 100-person like thing, and you do some workshops in there as well. So I think like a thought is maybe to design like a big mural, and then maybe instead of just having a workshop in a classroom, like I'm gonna get the students, whatever, we'll go paint the mural.
That's wild. That fucking sounds like the life, dude. Just traveling, going to mural fests and busting out murals and teaching workshops. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, you brought up the teaching thing, and I think, you know, like doing anything for the first couple of times is going to be pretty nerve-wracking, much like the conferences still are. But I think they open up so much opportunity just by being open to those things.
Do you do speaking too?
I do a couple things here and there. So I'll be speaking it off, and then there as well. I spoke at Apple here in Toronto the other day. So like, it's not my forte, but I mean, I think it's also quite cool to look back on your work and kind of figure out like what actually was your process. Cause you know, when you're in the middle of it, you're just kind of like designing and like closing one job, opening another.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm finding, a lot of people see it as competitions, but the more you like open up and teach it, man, the more you're just like attracting more people to your cause and tribe. And they're just like, well, fuck that. I'm just going to hire this dude. I don't want to learn it. He's teaching me how to learn it, but I want to.
Open to like having workshops or even like part-time uni thing one day. But right now it's pretty hard to like commit to anything because something might come up for next week and then I got to go.
Yeah, for sure. One last question before. Say that one more time. Sorry.
Just kind of rolling with it and seeing what opportunities come about.
Word. Before we go into rapid fire question, what's one piece of advice you give to your past self when you were just starting off?
Oh, dang. I think it's just not get too caught up with the social media aspect of things. It is important, but I think when you let go a little bit and you kind of like share your process and what you're up to, it's super easy to get caught up with the comments and the likes and all that stuff. But, you know, a big following is not representative of someone that's very good at what they do either.
No.
But like, you can't just look at people that have massive followings and think that that's the end goal either. And then also just like, yeah, I mean, like be confident in what you're doing, but like, don't be arrogant or don't be a dick about it as well. Because, you know, as good as you think you are, you're not nearly as good as like somebody else. So just being humble in that process as well. And just remembering why you do it. Like, obviously it's about paychecks and it's about money, but like, it also should be about just doing good work and doing like work that means something, you know, do some NGO gigs, like do something good in between.
I'm taking out all notes. You're dropping fire right now.
Yeah, I just think like it's important to not forget why you're doing this shit. Because a lot of people just do it for the cash and a lot of people just do it to make insanely amazing work. So you got to find that middle balance as well. You don't want to be a starving artist. Like, that's not a fun gig.
Why do you do it?
I mean, like, I love it, man. Like every new piece, like getting it done, like closing a chapter, trying something new.
It seems like you're having a hell amount of fun when you do it. Like, I have fun when you kick out a new piece. Like, I look forward to when you're dropping something new. So I'm just like, fuck, what's he going to do next? He's always pushing it.
Well, I got some new stuff, man. I got a print being released with Seawalls, the Hawaii gig. So that's 100% of the proceeds are going to charity on that one. And VG Kids, like, printing that. Like, there's 4 different posters with 4 different foils. Like, it's crazy, man. So that's going to be dropped soon. So yeah, it'd be great if people supported that charity.
Yeah, if there's any way I can give it a plug, newsletter here, share it on Instagram, just to like push it out a little bit farther, I'm totally down if I can help out.
Yeah, and then I think I've also, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's all go ahead, but I think I booked a solo show for May 16th. So I should probably, like, I'm going to get doing that work soon as well. So I'm hoping to do like a lot of installation and sculptural pieces for that. And then have a couple prints or paintings as well.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
And one more thing, like busy working on a big sculpture for a museum show here.
Like clay or what?
No, it's
material.
gonna be, I think it's gonna be out of metal and wood.
And you're like crafting that yourself too?
I'm working with a buddy on it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're designing it or prototyping it, and then they're like bringing your creation to life.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is like there's no budget for this thing. I mean, the budget's so small, it's crazy. So we're trying to figure out how do we make this 9-foot sculpture that's kind of worthy of being in a museum as well. So it's quite a learning curve. There's probably 300 iterations of this sketch so far. So we've got 3 weeks to do it. So
Wild.
nothing's been made. So
you'll figure it out, man.
it'll be cool, man. It
doesn't sound like you even sleep.
Yeah.
Do you sleep?
Oh yeah, man. I'm gonna chill now, so it's all good.
All right, let's go to
make my hours productive, you know. So like figure out
intentional.
Yeah, you know. So it's good.
Let's go rapid fire real quick. Respect your time. If you were on death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
Probably I'd say pepperoni.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You got a specific place?
There's a place here in Toronto it does like crazy good pizzas. It's all like, you know, that handcrafted kind of approach to it. Librettos, yeah. It's good.
When I come and visit, you have to show me where it's at.
Dude, we'll go to all the pizza spots.
Fuck yeah. If you could have lunch with one person dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think there's this dude, Michael Beirut. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would be a pretty interesting
design
dude.
legend.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously like other dudes like Massimo Vignelli, but like, I mean, I feel like this dude, he's just like a super insightful guy. They do great work, and he seems like a no bullshit kind of dude as well. So like, yeah, he'd be up there for sure.
Word. Mine be like Bob Ross.
Yeah, he can show you those paint techniques. You know?
Dude, yeah, he paints with squirrels in his pocket. That dude's wild.
Dude, yeah, that is insane.
Fucking wild. I bet you he smoked so much weed.
Dude, yeah, in between
tripped so much acid.
Yeah, crazy.
What's your favorite mural to date?
I would say like the 3D ones for sure.
You have a specific one, or you can give me a top 2 or a top 3.
I mean, I love the Heart of Gold one, and also love that red one I did at Powwow.
Yeah.
That one was just super meaningful because it was in like the hood of Worcester, outside of Boston. It was off Main Street. So like the corner we were on was like all the dealers basically. So like Big Mike and all his homies, you know, in there. They like kept their stash underneath our lift at night. Like it was a crazy experience.
Did they share the stash?
Yeah, I mean, we took our bit.
I feel you.
But I mean, the feedback we got, like no one paints there. There's no murals there. So we had about like 400 people or so come up to us and thank us for painting there.
Because you just injected something positive in a place that's known for negativity.
Yeah, and the whole thing was, so it was forever in Spanish, because it's kind of like a Latino neighborhood. Yeah, and it was just kind of that whole idea of being forever proud of like where you're from and who you are. Yeah, and I think it's now like kind of inspired like the festival to also move some more projects in that area. So I think things like that, you know, like are just feel good projects as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Create for an impact. Still have fun. Do your thing, but create for an impact. That's awesome. Something bigger than yourself.
It doesn't seem like art really does anything, but like you'd be surprised sometimes like how it affects people and the messages especially as well. Like I'll get messages from people like when I painted the Forever one here, like this guy was saying, you know, like how his wife had passed away, and like it was like this whole thing about, you know, he knows she's forever with him and stuff. Like some pretty heavy stuff out there. So I think you forget when you're doing these things sometimes. You just want it to look dope, but they actually mean a lot to people day-to-day basis.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Who's your favorite muralist? You mentioned Dulk, but who else is up there?
He's up there for sure. I mean, I think Tristan Eden's like just killing it at the moment as well. I feel like I wrote down a couple people, but I don't even know where I put those.
You know who Pref ID is?
Yeah,
That does all that. Oh my God. That's
Gary, dude.
Gary Stranger.
Yeah, man, he's killing it. There's and also Revoke. I don't know if you know, he's like a graffiti artist, but he does like more of the kind of fine art stuff and experimental kind of design and art now. His stuff's beautiful, and just a progression of like from graffiti art into where he is now, like exhibiting in museums. And yeah, so like I picked up a print of his the other day, like like a print of like Gary's. So I try and like as best collect like people whose work I love as well. So I have a bunch of like Mike Giant stuff and James Jean. So it's really cool to like, you know, support other artists as well. Cause, you know, buying the prints, like, you know, if you don't buy someone's print, the likelihood of them making another print and putting more cool shit out there is even less. So
been there.
Supporting them for a small amount is cool.
Support your friends, support other artists.
Yeah. And I think in the lettering world, I mean, Eric Marinovich, he's always just slamming it out the park.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah, so like when I was in San Fran, I met up with him and like just such a good person as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then another
I'm big on Gemma O'Brien. Gemma O'Brien is like,
oh yeah,
working on getting her on the show, man.
Yeah, I'm sure she will, man.
She's been busy, lots of things going on in her world, just like you. So thanks for making time for it. No,
for sure, man. I think, yeah, I mean, you know, sooner or later.
Last random one: cats or dogs?
Dogs.
All right. Last one. Where can people go to follow you online and support you?
Ben Johnston Design and benjohnston.ca.
Word. Dude, that's it, man. Thank you so much for finally making this happen. I think I hit you up like over a year ago, and then it was on me to finally folloh back up on it. So appreciate stars aligning.
It gets a little crazy, you know. I'm sure you know that as well.
Yeah, kid, day job, podcast, freelance. Life is wild. So I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely down for a part 2 somewhere, or even come visit you down there.
Yeah, come to Iowa. I'd rather just come to Toronto. It's probably way more dope in the summertime, and maybe take me to like a UFO hotspot.
I mean, it's getting warmer. It's like 0 now. So you see people in t-shirts now.
Yeah, we have like a 40-degree day after having like negative 20 3 weeks ago. So
yeah, it's crazy, but like it's you know, it's getting there. But it's cool. Like, I mean, you know, like if it's that much of an issue, like I would just move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I try and travel in between and like see other places. So by the time I get back from like Spain, it'll be like super hot here.
Word. Well, we appreciate your time, and I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, peace. PC family, Ben Johnston. He is the trippy type wizard of all these murals, creating insane work, and I know he dropped a ton of value. Ben, you crushed it today. We will definitely have you on for round 2. And if you found value in what Ben had to say today, do what you do best. Go and blow this dude up right now on social media. Let him know what your biggest takeaway was. Spread some love, okay? Share his work, like his work, buy whatever work he has available. Go see him at Mural Fest. Go support him in his exhibits. Just whatever you do, go show Ben some love right now. Ben, thank you so much for your time, and we'll definitely have you on for round 2 because there's going to be a lot of questions that people want to go deeper in. And if you want to have a chance to ask future guests a question, well, go join the private collective Facebook community of the Perspective-Collective. And if you want to start asking questions as well and get your name shouted out on an episode, asking some of these bigger names, your most pressing questions aside from just becoming a listener a week, then go and join the Perspective-Collective on Facebook. Join our private global community. We got people every day sharing their work, sharing their resources, providing feedback, and collaborating with people all across the world. It's truly a beautiful thing, and we would love to have you be a part of the family and join this movement. Again, that's the Perspective-Collective on Facebook. And if you're finding value in this show and it's helped you anywhere along your creative grind, then there's 2 ways you can support. And the first is by backing the show financially over at patreon.com/Perspective Podcast. The second way is by subscribing and leaving a rating review over an Apple Podcast or iTunes, whatever platform you're on. And not only does subscribing, rating, and reviews help the show grow in the charts of the arts and design category, but most importantly, it allows me to return the love back to you as listener of the week. This week's listener of the week comes from Mark C. From USA. He titles this one, Great from All Creatives. And he states, hearing Scotty examine business concepts through the lens of a creative professional is refreshing. I haven't once had to grit my way through a stuffy conversation just to get to some good information. Although I'm not a visual artist, as a musician, the ideas presented connect with screaming clarity, and as a bonus, I get to learn some Illustrator lingo and peek into that world along the way. The insight here is unpretentious, human, practical. He gets it. You got this. Thanks, Scotty. Mark C, thank you so much. Him and I connected through the Black with No Cream group, through my homie Ben Haggerty. He's from my local hometown, Stomping Grounds of Iowa. He's an incredible musician. Definitely go and check him out. Thank you so much for your time of making sure that you left a review for me, dude. I appreciate it more than you ever know. And as I sign off, I got to give a huge thank you to my executive assistant, Paige Garland, my video specialist, Colton Bacher, the homie, as well as Nick Jenkins of Bluka for all the dope theme music you hear on the show. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this. Thanks again for listening. It'd be awesome if you took the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let the comment below so we can connect. Again, if you want to catch a shout out as a future listener of the week, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes and give it a rating and review.